From her humble beginnings as an economics professor to her nomination as the first female chair of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen has encountered many difficulties and made her innumerable difficult decisions that have had a significant impact on the global economy. Her worst errors will undoubtedly come back to haunt her when she takes on her toughest position to date as Secretary of the Treasury of the United States. Join us as we examine the achievements and failings of Yellen's illustrious career and identify the lessons to be drawn from them. Get ready for a wild voyage filled with revelations, insights, and perhaps even a few surprises. George Akerlof, the recipient of the Economic Nobel Prize, supported Janet Yellen's career by taking complete leave from his tenured position in Berkeley University's Economics Department when she was appointed chair of the Council of Economic Advisors in 1997. Even though he had assumed household duties when Yellen was appointed to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve several years prior, he believed his function in providing psychological support in the daily political storms was yet more important. During her time in the White House, he wrote in his biography for the Nobel Prize, "It's time to review your psychological support techniques." As Treasury Secretary, Yellen returns to the White House in the midst of a political and economic uproar that is 10 times more complicated than the one she faced nearly 3 decades ago. She is endowed with a friendly smile and a modest build, but she is perhaps the most qualified individual to take on her new role because she previously held the 2 highest-ranking economic policy roles in the nation, Fed Chair and White House Policy Advisor. The risk, however, could not be higher. During her confirmation hearing last week, Yellen stated, "We are living in a K-shaped economy, one where wealth built upon wealth, while working families fell farther and farther behind. We must restructure our economy to provide prosperity to more people and to make sure that American workers can compete in a world market that is becoming more and more competitive." In order to choose the best course of action, Yellen must adjust it for the wildly uncertain future. In the months to come, global growth might either plummet if the pandemic worsens or rebound if vaccines are successful and widely distributed. She has experience dealing with uncertainty because she oversaw the Fed's historic purchase of trillions of dollars worth of assets to support the economy in the wake of the 2009 financial crisis. However, she is also acutely aware of the consequences of even the smallest error, such as raising interest rates too soon or too late, as many believe she did in 2015 while she served as Fed chair. The biggest difficulty for Yellen will be responding to the situation with a poise that has served her career well, while avoiding letting worry about making a mistake cloud her judgment. Yellen assumes control of the nation's budget during a heated discussion about how to effectively fix the ailing economy. The economic crisis brought on by the epidemic has resulted in 4 times as many job losses as the crisis of 2009, when Yellen served as vice chair of the Fed. She needs to win over a divided Congress that is trying to balance negotiating a multi-trillion-dollar economic recovery package with a highly controversial impeachment trial in order to successfully respond. Additionally, she will take on the role of primary arbiter in the tumultuous argument among economists over how much more the government can spend than previously believed without fueling inflation. She is familiar with the area well. Yellen, a profoundly scholarly left-of-center economist, has long held the view that the government and central bank should employ monetary and fiscal policy to control market fluctuations for the benefit of both Wall Street and the general public. Her dovish tendencies can be traced back to her PhD studies at Yale under the tutelage of Nobel Prize-winning economists James Tobin and Joseph Stiglitz, who followed John Maynard Keynes in arguing that economics should be, as Yellen has phrased it, about caring for real people. She adopted Tobin's methodology so naturally that he incorporated her class notes as a resource for other students into his lectures, a fact that former classmates like economist Kenneth Rogoff and former Treasury Undersecretary Jeffrey Schaefer recall with affect. Despite decades of increasing public debt and declining interest rates, inflation had not risen to unsettling heights. By the summer of 2020, as the pandemic had already had a significant impact on the economy and employment, the Fed had reached a decision known as Powell's pivot. Powell had declared that unemployment might decline further than Fed policymakers had anticipated without igniting inflation. He told a group of central bankers in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, "Our view is that a robust job market can be sustained without causing an outbreak of inflation, and our policy framework must adapt to meet the new challenges that arise." Powell pushed for additional fiscal assistance as well, highlighting the inadequacy of the Fed's instruments to address the crisis' rising inequality issue. To address persistent gaps, elected officials hold better tools. "We'll continue to do what we can. It definitely should cover more than just the Fed." Yellen has emphasized the need for additional government support for months, particularly to assist low-income people who face the possibility of losing their jobs permanently. In a September interview with the Wall Street Journal, Yellen remarked, "This is not a good time to have fiscal policy switch from being accommodative to creating a drag. That's what occurred during the previous decade, and it slowed the recovery." Supporters of this way of thinking cite data showing that borrowing rates for the government have not increased in step with rising budget deficits. In fact, when the government maintained surpluses in the late 1990s rather than when deficits later grew, borrowing costs were greater. She will need to explain this to investors and congressional budget hawks who believe that increasing the government's $26.7 trillion debt load could at any time lead to inflation. Yellen is not immune to the fear of inflation, and the most recent period of extremely low inflation does not seem to have had a significant impact on her views. She has argued in recent years for tax increases and reduced expenditure on Medicaid and Social Security in order to slow down the nation's unsustainable debt trajectory. "At the moment, we are not living within our means." She stated this to a trade association for senior living in 2019. "Debt is going to grow, and that's going to cause issues down the road," she said. A widely accepted idea among progressive economists that the U.S. government need not be restricted by its debts or deficits in how it spends because it controls its own currency has also been refuted by Yellen. Modern monetary theory's premise that you don't have to worry about interest rate payments because the central bank can buy the debt, as Yellen stated at a 2019 investor conference in Hong Kong, is very wrong-minded theory because that's how you get hyperinflation. She understands how distinct this time is for the labor market, particularly for the lowest wage workers out there, economist Diane Swonk told the Washington Post. This awareness underlies her readiness to spend significantly in the near future. It all comes down to this. A few years from now, if Yellen is successful in her mission to support jobs without encouraging inflation, she will be faced with a political choice. She can either stay true to her principles and push for the painful spending cuts that politicians and voters detest, or she can adopt new thinking that pushes the issue further down the road. And with that, we end today's video. What are your opinions on Yellen's latest decisions? Feel free to let us know in the comment section down below. If you found this video informative, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click on the tiny bell icon on the side to stay notified and updated on all of our upcoming content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in